You sit in the silence after everyone has left, feeling their emotions still clinging to you like invisible threads. The weight of their sorrows, their anxieties, their unspoken needs, all of it somehow became yours to carry. And you wonder, not for the first time, when caring for others became a form of slow drowning. This is the empath's paradox, blessed with the gift of deep feeling, burdened by the inability to know where you end and others begin. But the empath is not simply a kind or gentle soul, nor just a good listener. It is an archetypal pattern that Carl Jung traced in dreams and myths. Across cultures, it appears as a vessel that carries more than one life can hold. As the wounded healer who feels the poison first. As the scapegoat who bears the tribe's unbearable shadows. As the priest who receives confessions never spoken aloud. Yet vessels always crack. And when too much grief seeps in, when poison overflows, the empath collapses into illness, depression, resentment, rage. For many, this collapse begins in the body. Migraines, autoimmune conditions, adrenal fatigue. The nervous system bears what the psyche cannot process. Jung observed that the body will often express what consciousness denies. Modern science calls this the allostatic load, the cumulative toll of carrying chronic stress, hypervigilance, and emotional weight. For empaths, that load is often doubled, because they carry not only their own wounds but everyone else's. Have you felt that collapse in your own body, the exhaustion no rest can cure, the heaviness that isn't even yours, the sense that you are mourning losses you never consciously experienced? Here lies the forgotten truth: empathy without transformation becomes bondage. To feel without alchemy is to drown. To feel without alchemy is to drown. To feel without alchemy is to drown. But empathy was never meant to make you a sponge. That is the old image, and it traps too many. A sponge absorbs until it bursts. You were always meant to be more like a tuning fork. A tuning fork resonates with another's note, then returns to its own. It vibrates without being consumed. This is the first step of the last transformation. Your gift was never meant to drown you, but to attune you. Psychologists Elaine Aron and Arthur Aron found that roughly 20% of people have what's called a highly sensitive trait, a nervous system more finely tuned to subtle stimuli. It is adaptation, not pathology. Intelligence, not weakness. But what once saved you in unpredictable environments may overwhelm you now. Neuroscience sharpens this picture. Research by Tania Singer shows the difference between empathic distress, feeling others' pain as if it were your own, which burns you out, and empathic concern, understanding another's experience while staying emotionally regulated. The latter is not coldness. It is conscious compassion. The unconscious communicates these truths not in theories but in images. And in the dreams of empaths, the symbol is often water, floods rising without end, rivers that sweep you away, oceans that cover the horizon. Crowds of wounded faces pressing close, children or animals clutched in your arms as the tide pulls you under. These are not random fragments of your day. They are reports from the collective field. This is what you are carrying unconsciously. But sometimes the dream shifts. The flood recedes. A torch appears in your hand. The children who once weighed you down now walk beside you. The animals guide you to higher ground. This is the psyche showing the way forward, the moment you cease to drown and begin to transform. And here myth speaks with precision. In the Eleusinian mysteries, Persephone descends into the underworld. She is not destroyed by it. She returns carrying the secret of rebirth. The full story matters. Persephone is seized by Hades, dragged into the earth, her cries unheard. Her mother Demeter, goddess of the harvest, roams the world in grief. Crops wither, the land becomes barren, humanity starves. Only when Persephone emerges again, crowned, transformed, does the earth blossom once more. this is not a tale of seasonal change alone. It is the archetype of descent. The empath too is dragged down into the underworld, not willingly, but by the gravity of others' pain, and like Demeter, parts of the world fall barren in their absence, joy disappears, vitality drains, everything becomes grey. But the return, if it comes, brings new fertility. The empath's withdrawal is not selfish. It is necessary. Only by descending and returning do they bring back the wisdom of both realms. To feel without alchemy is to drown. And the archetype, if resisted, turns monstrous. Jung warned that archetypes do not disappear when ignored, they devour. Kronos devours his children. Saturn devours time itself. The ocean swallows those who try to swim too long in its depths. Empathy without transformation becomes not gift but grave. The empath who resists this initiation remains in the first stage, absorbing endlessly, collapsing silently. And here lies the danger: an untransformed empath becomes food for psychic parasites. So what is this transformation? It begins with boundaries, not as stone walls, but as sacred membranes. Boundaries are less like a sponge and more like a window. Both let light through, but only one gets saturated. Boundaries are not mental ideas. They are embodied practices. Noticing your feet on the ground when another story pulls you off balance. Returning to your own breath when emotions threaten to sweep you away. Practicing the quiet acknowledgement, I can witness this without owning it. But to embody boundaries, you must reclaim what you have long disowned: aggression, selfishness, the power to say no, the willingness to disappoint in order to remain whole. And there is more. Many empaths also exile competitiveness, ambition, sexuality, even joy. They believe these traits are dangerous, unfitting, too much. But Jung reminds us, what we repress does not vanish, it festers in the shadow. The shadow is not evil, it is the unlived life. Dreams will often reveal these guardians. A warrior shielding your heart. A wolf snarling at those who would drain you. A lion standing guard beside you. A mountain rising before you. A door opening into light. Figures who look like you, but stronger, unafraid to say what you dare not say. These are not enemies. They are protectors. If ignored, they turn against you. If welcomed, they stand at your side. In childhood, many empaths learned survival required attunement. You sensed that love could be withdrawn if you did not carry the pain of those around you. You signed an unspoken agreement: I will carry your pain so you will not abandon me. I will absorb your storm so you will keep me close. This was not weakness. It was adaptation. Attachment research suggests children in unpredictable homes develop hypervigilant empathy, a radar for danger disguised as compassion. What once kept you safe now drowns you as an adult. And individuation demands rupture. The old contract must be broken. This means risking abandonment. Risking misunderstanding. Risking being called selfish. Yet if you never dare to stand apart, you never discover your own face. Individuation begins with defiance: I will no longer trade my wholeness for your approval. And when you refuse the contract, the unconscious responds. At first, it presses hard, through exhaustion, through dreams that won't let you rest. But what feels like collapse is often the beginning of rebirth. As you disentangle from others, buried emotions rise. Grief you postponed. Rage you repressed. Hungers you silenced to stay safe. And in dreams, archetypal figures appear. The trembling child who demands recognition. The devouring mother who clutches too tightly. The tyrant father who insists you owe him silence. Jung named the anima and animus as inner figures that surface powerfully here. For empaths, the anima may appear as infinite compassion, longing to merge without end. Beautiful but dangerous. The animus may appear as a harsh inner critic, condemning every boundary as selfish. Active imagination can help you confront them. To the anima, I honor your love, but I will not drown in it. To the animus, I respect your strength, but I will not be ruled by fear. This is the alchemical labor. Just as Hercules faced impossible tasks, each one symbolic of inner trial, so too must the empath. Cleaning Jungian stables becomes the cleansing of ancestral pain. Slaying beasts becomes the confrontation with projections. Capturing wild creatures becomes the taming of inner chaos. Carrying impossible weights becomes learning to lay them down. Confronting the Hydra becomes facing toxic relationships that multiply when cut at the surface but shrink when burned at the root. Chasing the golden hind becomes the endless pursuit of unattainable goodness, the attempt to be flawless in service and purity. Bringing Cerberus up from Hades becomes the courage to face mortality, loss, and the deepest fear of abandonment itself. Hercules did not escape labor. He was transformed by it. And so must you be. To feel without alchemy is to drown. To labor without transformation is to be crushed. Rebirth is never gentle. The unconscious often announces it with images of death. You may dream of your own funeral, only to rise calmly from the coffin. You may dream of fire consuming you, only for a new figure to step out of the flames. You may dream of being buried alive, only to discover you can breathe beneath the soil. You may dream of descending stairs into darkness, only to find yourself holding a torch. You may dream of doors opening into blinding light. Jung taught that these are not fantasies but symbols of transformation, the death of the old ego identity, the rebirth of the self. Alchemy called it mortificatio, the necessary dissolution before new life. In Christianity, Christ descends into hell and rises again. In Hindu myth, Shiva destroys to make space for new creation. In alchemy, the phoenix burns and rises renewed. Across cultures, the pattern is clear: what dies symbolically makes space for wholeness. These are the psyche's way of showing you, the old empath identity must die, so the sovereign self may live. And sovereignty means this: you can feel without drowning, love without losing yourself, care without carrying. But the world resists this. When you stop being the eternal absorber, people may call you selfish, cold, unkind. These accusations are projections, the shadows of those who cannot bear their own suffering. If you collapse under them, you return to bondage. If you endure, you awaken something greater. By refusing to carry what is not yours, you awaken others to carry their own. Picture yourself standing in a great hall. Around you are the people whose burdens you carried for years. Their demands press upon you once again. Some weep and beg you to return to your old role. Some grow angry, hurling accusations of selfishness. Others stand in silence, confused by your refusal. A few slink away, unable to meet your gaze. But within your chest burns a steady flame. You look at them with compassion, but you do not bow. You say, "I cannot carry this for you." It is yours. Once you carried their grief like stone. Now you stand as fire. Once you mirrored only their wounds. Now you reflect their wholeness. Once you drowned in their storms. Now you walk on higher ground. And among the crowd, a few, just a few, meet your eyes and understand. They bend to pick up their own burdens. And in that act, they too begin their transformation. This is the empath's last gift. When you refuse to be devoured, you not only free yourself, you awaken others. And so the archetype matures, from vessel to fire, from absorber to alchemist, from victim to conscious participant in the mystery of individuation. To individuate is not to become perfect. It is to become whole. To embrace both light and shadow, tenderness and ferocity, openness and refusal. The journey is not linear. Some days you will slip back into old patterns, absorbing more than you intended. This is not failure, it is human. Your sensitivity was never meant to be your crucifixion. It was meant to be your contribution. When you learn to feel without drowning, to care without carrying, to love without losing yourself, you embody empathy in its mature form, not martyrdom, but mastery. And perhaps your greatest gift is not what you carry for others, but what you refuse to carry, proving that it is possible to remain open-hearted without being broken-hearted, to feel deeply without being consumed, to love the world without disappearing into it. This is the forgotten truth Jung pointed toward, that empathy is not the end but the doorway. And when you dare to step through, you discover what waits beyond, not fragility, but freedom. Not martyrdom, but meaning. Not half a life lived in others, but the fullness of your own soul. To feel without alchemy is to drown, but to transform what you feel is to live.